This is a certified hood classic.
Oh my God, we back! What Squid Game looks like without special effects.
Squid Game Season 1 doesn't seem all that packed with CGI, but it actually took more digital wizardry to pull off the dystopian smash hit than you might think.
I mean, that makes sense.
The cast and crew didn't actually have to worry about being killed during the infamous red light, green light
What? You mean to tell me they weren't really shot? Man, shut y'all stupid ass. You got that, bro.
But the filming of this sequence wasn't exactly a walk in the park either. In addition to the major cast members, there were also 300 extras and 20 martial arts actors on the set. The initial script originally envisioned 1,000 players, but creator Hwang Dong-hyuk quickly realized that this wasn't viable. While
Hey, look, he looked at the budget. He said, look, fuck that bullshit, boy. Yeah, you got to get creative, man. That's a part of, looking at movies and all these shows and everything. Everything is made to look a certain way, but it's creatively, like if you see how it was broken down and chopped up, like these video games and everything, you would really be like, ugh. Like it really looks dirty. The process of making everything looks dirty and nasty. But when you see the finished product, bro, that's when
300 is a lot less than 1,000. The scene was still a nightmare to orchestrate. Since some of the violent deaths were shot in slow motion, it was all too easy for actors to mess up a take and then have to start over. As Hwang recalled to Vanity Fair, it took about 20 to 30 minutes if we got a wrong take and had to plant the fake blood in them again. Whenever this happened, Hwang would go to a different part of the set and film another character's death while the crew cleaned up the fake blood and got the initial actor back into position. With such a complicated set piece, they couldn't afford to waste a second. A particular shot in the red light, green light sequence was especially tricky to film. The moment when Ali grabs Gi-hun to keep him from falling. It wasn't easy for the actors to hold that awkward position, nor was it comfortable. It was also pretty much physically impossible.
And we actually use wires because no matter how strong someone is, right?
사람이 손으로 절대로 잡을 수가 없더라고요. 이게 아무리 힘이 센 사람도 이렇게 잡는 건 불가능해서.
Furthermore, the wire lifted Lee Jung-jae's shirt unnaturally, so not only did the effects team have to edit out the wire in post-production, they also needed to tweak Gi-hun's uniform. Otherwise, it would have been painfully obvious that there was a wire underneath. Many of the locations in Squid Game were constructed in real life, with the production crew building everything from the bunk beds to the arena for the marbles game. However, that doesn't mean that these scenes didn't require computer-generated imagery, as the VFX team still needed to extend the sets digitally.
We did a lot of computer graphics work at the post-production stages to connect different spaces and to create the space that wasn't able to be created in reality.
For example, the background of the tug-of-war room was digitally modified to make the area seem even more cavernous than it actually was. The effects team did indeed build the tug-of-war platforms, but the actors weren't very high off the ground, save for a handful of shots of the players being pulled over the edge. Likewise,
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm glad, you know what I'm saying, it minimizes any potential accidents, bro. But, I mean, honestly, it's really dope because I never questioned them. Like, and that's how you know when you do a good job. Like, I didn't question them. I ain't say like, bro, like, this looks fake. Or I ain't say like, this look like some bullshit. You know, like in my head, it was a seamless experience, especially during the first. I don't know if y'all seen Squid Games season 2, part 1, but that shit is nice. It's nice. It's nice. But the Squid Games, the season 1, all the way through, flawless. Didn't even notice, like I was so immersed, didn't even too much care about the voice acting because I watched a little bit in Korean, but a lot of it with the dub. So, you know, but other than that, I think it was nice, bro. I think they did a great job at all.
The crew did construct a segment of the room with all the stairs. They used CGI to extend the set and make it seem like the stairs went spiraling deep into the ground.
Right.
The painted background of the red light, green light arena is actually CGI, which might sound strange considering that it could have easily been built physically. So why did the VFX team go through the trouble of using a blue screen instead of just painting the wall? To put it simply, Hwang Dong-hyuk hadn't made up his mind yet when the sets were built, so CGI was utilized to give him the option to change the design later. At first, Hwang considered making the arena walls more colorful. However, visual effects supervisor Chung Jae-hoon had a different idea. As he explained in an interview with the Visual Effects Society, maybe we should have a buffer zone for the first episode, because if we just go all out on the colorful and the flashy from the very beginning, people might find it childish. Jae-hoon...
Right. And this, I mean, They might have gotten past that once they seen the first nigga get shot. Maybe they would have gotten past that, but I get where you're coming from. It was experimental, and if you spending all this money, you don't want something small like that to ruin it. Like, it's like, bro, why is everything so damn colorful? The stairs is colorful. This is colorful. That's colorful. You colorful. This nigga dancing around, skipping and shit.
Also likened the sets to The Truman Show and how that movie's artificial world seems almost but not quite real. Ultimately, the final design that Hwang settled on was a backdrop that was just real enough to be convincing and just fake enough to feel unsettling.
Right.
진짜를 알아가면서 죽음과 산과를 이렇게 막 혼란스럽게 만드는 공간으로 잡아봤고요.
The trippy game arenas weren't the only sets brought to life with VFX, as the environments outside the games also required some digital magic. For example, the famous overhead shot of the island at the end of the first episode would have looked very different without visual effects. The massive arena with a retractable roof was actually filmed on a modest patch of land that only contained a couple of warehouses, while the rest was added digitally. Likewise, the sequence where the cars leave the ferry and enter the island is not what it appears to be. As Chung Jae-hoon explained, people think that it was actually filmed on an island, but it was just like a really random part of Korea.
Oh, okay. I thought, for some reason, I thought they was finna say, bro, the cars wasn't actually driving. I said, these niggas are professional. He said, actually, there are these cars, they weren't actually driving. That boat, that's not a boat. That's a nigga with a Popeye's chicken sandwich in his hand and a sailor's hat on his top. That wasn't a real boat. And he said, and look, the video you're watching is not a real video. These are pictures. It's like, well, I get that, but shut the fuck up.
In this landlocked filming location, the crew took advantage of an existing waterway and then added the rest with CGI. And believe it or not, the entire airport from the season finale is fake. The original plan was to film that scene in a real airport, but that wasn't possible due to COVID-19 restrictions. So instead, it was shot in the studio, and computer wizardry transformed it into an airport.
Well,
for Hwang Dong-hyuk, the safety of his cast and crew were of the utmost importance, so when it came time to film the grisly player eliminations, he took extra safety precautions for any scenes involving guns. And in some cases, even the sounds of the gunfire were fake. So while Hwang did shoot some of the death scenes with realistic gunfire sound effects, there were other times when he just shouted. Each time.
I like that, bro, because at the end of the day, you can never, like, I've been on a set before, bro. You can never be too certain, too sure with guns, because it only takes that one idiot, maybe one, maybe two, but mostly one, that just didn't load it right, just didn't look at it right. And if you have ever used guns, you always know that anytime you leave a gun, you have to, anytime you leave a gun and you walk away, even if it's for a minute, you always have to come back with the expectation that that gun is active, that gun is loaded. You have to. You can't assume, even if you physically took all the bullets out of it. I'm thinking of a revolver for some reason. Physically took all the bullets out of it, boom, dumped that shit. And flip that shit back, set it on the table, and then you walked off for a minute, walked out the room. I mean, obviously, there ain't nobody in the damn room, but I'm just saying, like, if you just walked out the room, there's a few people in the room, you come back, you have to assume that that gun is loaded. I mean, seriously, you just can't, just like, I'm talking about when you working, especially when you by yourself or you working with other people, you don't want to be the person that just didn't check, bro, because they don't care, bro. You know, the law doesn't care, bro. The accidents, maybe, but who knows, bro. It's your word against theirs. It's all type of shit. It's a failed project. It's all type of shit. Millions and millions of dollars lost in these big ass, I can't say Hollywood, but you know what I mean when I say blockbuster major productions.
Time Hwang did this, Lee Jung-jae and the other actors flinched as if they heard a real gunshot. If we were in their shoes, we'd probably flinch too.
For sure.
Squid Game's tug-of-war scene was so draining that the actors had to catch their breath between takes, with some of them resting on the short yellow rail at the edge of the platform. Meanwhile, Lee Jung-jae had a little stool that he would pull up. Most of the actors agreed that the tug-of-war sequence was the hardest to film.
줄다리기 이런 걸 할 경험이 많이 있지는 않잖아요. 실제로 엄청난 체력을 요구하더라고요.
He said, we didn't realize until we filmed Squid Game.
While filming this sequence, the actors were actually competing against a special machine designed to pull on the rope. As Lee Yoon-mi explained to The Swoon, we were really using all of our strength to play against a machine, not a group of people. So no matter how hard we pulled, we couldn't win. You'll probably be relieved to learn that most of the Glass Stepping Stones challenge was actually filmed close to the ground. The set was still 1.5 meters, or approximately 5 feet, off the ground, which allowed the crew to film shots from underneath the glass bridge, as well as stage the shots where characters fell to their deaths. Behind-the-scenes footage shows one extra leaping onto the space where a glass panel should be, except that there's no glass. Instead, there's a platform that was later erased by VFX that drops quickly and smoothly the moment she puts her weight on it. After it fell, she crouched down to make sure her body would no longer appear in the shot. Even though the bridge wasn't as high in real life as it appears in the final version, it was still plenty
Look at them just chilling on the glass, just sitting and talking.
for the actors.
다리 한 1.5m 정도 높이. 그거는 사실 더 낮출 수도 있었는데 그건 이제 감독님이.
But the director Hwang wanted it at the height in order to still install some fear in the actors. Okay, I like that. I like that.
배우들.
Unsurprisingly, this set actually scared some of the show's stars.
가짜로 하는 게 아니라 진짜 그들이 느끼는 공포감이 몸에 표현이 돼서
Not every Squid Game scene was filmed from a comfortable height. For a handful of shots in the glass bridge sequence, the actors
I know y'all be thinking like, bro, get your slow reading ass.
Actually filmed on a separate set that was approximately 6 meters, or about 19 feet, off the ground. The VFX team later composited the two sets digitally. Behind-the-scenes footage shows Min Yao and Dok Soo being raised on a harness, along with the glassmaker taking a tumble from the glass bridge.
Shit.
그때가 좀 되게
Damn.
그랬었어요.
Even from the safety of the editing room, the footage from these scenes gave editor Nam Na-young a case of vertigo. To convey the scale and the stakes of this game, the crew also built a third set just for filming all the broken bodies of the contestants who hit the floor.
Nice, okay.
To film the unforgettable scene where the glass bridge explodes, the Squid Game team shot in slow motion with a phantom camera, which can record at 3,000 frames per second. As a result, the actors had to be very careful not to turn away too soon, or otherwise the timing wouldn't line up. Between takes, a crew member would come in and make very precise slashes in the sleeve of Jung Hoi-yeon's uniform so that it would look as though the glass was cutting her clothes. For the glass itself, it started with a practical effect, as the actors were sprayed with particles designed to resemble glass.
And that's what I want to know, because I'm like, okay, that's dope, but what if, like, are they exploding glass? Because it looked like glass, even from this angle, but then maybe it's my brain, or maybe it's our brain, who knows? Maybe it's our brain just thinking in our head, like, okay, we know it's supposed to be glass, so even if it's confetti and shit, as long as it don't look too much like confetti and bullshit, then our brain will just associate like, that is glass, nigga, that is.
Afterwards, they had to shake these particles from their hair. Of course, the rest of the bridge exploding was shot separately. At first, the visual effects team tried shooting it practically, but they weren't happy with that result, so they opted instead for a CGI explosion. As CG supervisor, Kang Moon-jung told the Visual Effects Society, a lot of people thought that CG can never be better than the real shot, but actually, for this sequence, CG turned out to be even better than the real shot.
I mean, it's gotten
That
better over the
didn't exactly
years.
mean it was easy, as the visual effects team had to erase and replace the reflections in every single glass shard.
Damn,
One of the most
I ain't think
intense
about
Squid
that.
Game sequences is the final contest, in which Gi-hun and Song-woo fight to the death. It was filmed in the same location as the red light, green light sequence, yet the set couldn't look more different. The lighting
Right. It's a lot more gritty. Everything about this scene was shot perfectly, bro.
is
I ain't
more
gonna lie.
overcast, and the crew used sprinklers to simulate a heavy downpour. The camera crew wore ponchos and used waterproof coverings to keep their equipment from getting wet. However, the actors weren't so lucky. They had to shoot an intense fight scene while they were soaking wet, and it was freezing outside. As Lee Jung-jae recalled to Entertainment Weekly, it was in winter, so the weather was very cold. I remember filming that scene for about 4 days in the rain with the sprinkler, so it was very emotionally and physically tough.
I want to end here.
Actors, facts. But look, actors go through a lot. Actors go through a lot to make things happen. I remember the funny thing is, it was The Grinch. I was watching it because The Grinch is one of my favorite movies by Jim Carrey. Just one of them, not the favorite movie, just one of them. And he played it so well. And I remember him talking about it, saying that suit was musty and hot. and the context gave him headaches, and he had to film extensive hours, and the makeup took so long, and he was irritated wearing it and mad wearing it, and all he could think about, and paraphrasing, of course, all he could think about is just getting through this scene, getting through these scenes and doing it properly. And he remembered doing it for the kids. He remembered doing it not because he needed to get paid, but just doing it for the kids. And I just thought to myself, I'm like, man, we don't know the conditions and all these actors and actresses, how things are shot. And, we get to judging and saying, oh, man, this and that, and saying just whatever we want to say about actors and actresses. But the good ones, man, shout out to them, bro, because they really, we couldn't even tell. I couldn't even tell he was that upset, like, with that role. I didn't even think. It's things that we don't even think about. That actors, actresses, and the people, the casting members, the director, the crew, all these people that say, like, okay, we want to turn this wall into CGI. It's like, that's a great concept. It can be done, but who's going to do it? Who's going to apply all the blue for the background? Who has the skills in post-editing that can do all these things? And how long did it take them, bro? How many hours did they agonize off of it? How many hours did it take them to even get to the point where they even knew kind of what to do, so that way they can struggle even just getting what they know they want versus what they actually know how to do at that time. Like, there's a lot that goes into this. So I want to give a big shout out to everybody behind the scenes as well.
Even some of the most ordinary shots in Squid Game would look different without special effects. For instance, the ceilings of most of the arenas were inserted digitally after filming. In the red light, green light arena, the walls of the set were just a bit taller than the blue screen, meaning they cast shadows on the ground that wouldn't make sense in the final, fully edited scene. Thus, the VFX team needed to digitally erase some of the shadows. And while you might think that the giant piggy bank containing all the prize money could be easily filmed practically, that wasn't actually the case. The crew did build a physical piggy bank, but then they soon realized that it wouldn't work, as the plexiglass was so reflective that it was hard to actually make out the money inside when a spotlight was shining on it. So they created a CG version instead. All of these VFX shots probably slipped under the radar of most viewers, and that's exactly how the Squid Game team likes it. As Kang
I didn't know. I really didn't know. They probably did it for the season 2, bro, and I didn't know that.
Jung told the Visual Effects Society, what director Huang wanted and what the VFX crew wanted was to not make CG look like CG, so people can just take it for granted.
Right. Interesting. Hey, bro, I ain't gonna lie to y'all, bro. That's cold, bro. That's cold. That's cold, man. Like I said, big shout out to them, man, because they go above and beyond every time. They go above and beyond to, I mean, they making money. It's a business, but it's like some people really take pride in their work. And I feel like these days you don't see that. I think we judge projects for, I didn't like that. Oh, that was a dumb ending and yada, yada. And I think that as viewers, we don't give enough respect to, like, maybe that was a dumb ending. Maybe it was dumb writing, but some of the visuals visually is, a lot of times, we don't give enough respect to visually. And so when you see a good movie, something like that, like, for example, I like to say Saving Private Ryan, bro. Like, you got to think about how much special effects maybe was and was not used, and, yada, yada. But I don't know. Maybe we should watch a video about that. But I'm just saying, like, regardless how much went into that, you just got to respect it. So shout out to Squid Game. Shout out to people. And then, shout out to people. I think who made Saving Private Ryan? Homer Simpson. No, not who?